the NGF Abdulrazak Bello Bakindo said those invited to the meeting include the EFCC, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and the CBN. Bello Bakindo further noted that the meeting will also consider deepening the management and expansion of the cashless policy, which took effect from the time of the redesigning of the national currency last year, to further the financial inclusion of all citizens in the ensuing scheme of things going forward. The NGF media aide maintained that the meeting was called at the instance of the Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit in its letter dated March 30, which was addressed to the chairman of the NGF and signed by the NFRU Director Modibo Tuko. Away from that, the Presidential Transition Council has debunked a fake Twitter handle created by unethical persons since 2020. A statement signed by the Director, Information for the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman, Presidential Transition Council, Willie Bassi, says the fake Twitter handle was created before the establishment and inauguration of the Council. According to the statement, the PTC has nothing to do with the fake Twitter account handle, adding that approval for the establishment of the Presidential Transition Council was given by the President in February this year and was subsequently inaugurated by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, thereby exposing the impostor's irresponsible and calculated attempt to disseminate inaccurate and tainted information to unsuspecting members of the public. In another development, a Plateau High Court, today presided over by Justice M.L. Musa, has reinstated Nuhu Abok as Speaker of the Assembly. It will be recalled that Abok was impeached by the Assembly in October of 2021. However, in its judgments, the court upheld the submissions of the complainants that the impeachment was illegal and therefore null and void. The court further awarded 1.5 million naira as cost of appearance and 138,000 as cost of filing the matter against the defenders. Still in judiciary, the Lagos High Court, sitting at the Tafawa Balewa Square on Lagos Island, has dismissed a no-case submission filed by the suspended Assistant Superintendent of Police, ASP Drambi Vandi, who allegedly killed a Lagos-based lawyer, Omobolale Rahim, on December 25, 2022. Justice Ibironke Harrison today ordered the defendant to open his defense as a prima facie has been made against him. In his application on the no-case submission, Vandi had asked the court to dismiss the suit and discharge him, claiming that he had no case to answer. In his arguments, the defense counsel Adetokunbo Odutola told the court to note, among other things, that none of the eyewitnesses saw the defendant shoot and that the ballistic report of the gun allegedly fired expressly stated that the bullet could not be linked with any of the firearms recovered from the police officers at the scene. Meanwhile, National Human Rights Commission (NHRC) has condemned the recent sanctions against some media organizations following complaints by political parties. The Commission's project coordinator Hilary Ogbonna disclosed the agency's position on the sanctions at the review of its MOVE project in Abuja today. Ogbonna explained that it was wrong the speed with which sanctions were imposed on some television stations just 5 days after complaints were made through a petition. He added that such quick action was capable of sending the wrong signal to the public and the international community, suggesting that thorough investigations were not carried out before the sanctions were slammed. Ogbonna explained that the NHRC was not questioning the right of sister government agencies to carry out their statutory responsibilities, but said caution should be exercised when petitions written by politically exposed persons are involved. In another development, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) has urged President Buhari to use his leadership position to immediately enforce the judgment by the ECOWAS Court of Justice prohibiting persecutions of anyone on the grounds of insulting or stalking public officials online. SERAP also urged him to enforce and implement the ECOWAS Court judgment compelling government to respect, protect and promote freedom of expression, access to information and media freedom. In a letter signed by the organization's Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare, SERAP expressed concerns about the shrinking civic space in the country, as some state governors and government institutions were reportedly using the Section 24 of the Cybercrime Act and other repressive laws to crack down on anyone seeking to assert their human rights and media freedom. Elsewhere, the former governor of Abia State, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, has announced the passing on to eternal glory of his first wife, Ifeoma Kalu, who died at the age of 61. In a post on his official social media page, signed by him, the former governor and chief whip of the Senate said Ifeoma was a woman of virtue who was committed to the service of God and humanity. He urged the public to remember Ifeoma and her loved ones in prayers during this difficult period. Meanwhile, Kano State has appointed Senator Mashood Aliwo and Professor Atayiru Jega as Chancellor and Pro-Chancellor Chairman of the Governing Council of the state-owned Sadatu Rimi University of Education, Kombosho, respectively. The announcement was made by the Commissioner for Information and Internal Affairs, Kano State, Mohammed Garba, after the State Executive Council meeting. The approval was given after the National Universities Commission, NUC, recognized the institution as the 61st state university and the 222nd university in the Nigerian university system. According to reports, the appointment of the Chancellor and Pro-Chancellor Chairman of the Governing Council is in accordance with Part 3, Section 22 of the Sadatu Rimi University of Education, Kumbosho Law. Away from that, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, today met with the new chairperson of the Police Service Commission, PSC, Solomon Arase, a former IGP. According to reports, both parties met at the PSC conference room at the Federal Secretariat, Abuja, where they discussed measures to improve the mutual relationship between the NPF and the PSC, as well as identify new pathways for stronger partnership. Speaking with journalists after the meeting, IGP Baba disclosed that his visit will improve the relationship between the police and PSC, as well as enhance the security situation of the country. On security, the Kaduna State government has imposed a 24-hour curfew on Sabongiri, Nasarawa, Takinia area of Chukun local government area of the state with immediate effect. According to the Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs in the state, Samuel Arwan, the decision was reached following a breakdown of law and order which led to the killing of 2 citizens in an accident of urban gang violence. He said security agencies have been directed to enforce the curfew in the said location to restore order as investigations proceed. Meanwhile, citizens are urged to strictly observe the curfew in the various locations. Moving on to electoral matters, heavily armed policemen today have reportedly blocked the entrance of the headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, following a protest by the People's Democratic Party members. Reports say over 1,000 members of the party and their supporters had stormed the INEC office along Aba Road in Port Harcourt, demanding the commission to allow a joint inspection of election materials by political parties ahead of the Election Petitions Tribunal sitting. Meanwhile, the chairman of Ikwere local government area of the state, Samuel Nwanosike, emphasized that the inspection must be done by all parties involved. Recall that last Friday, the state governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Tony Cole, had led a protest to the INEC office demanding the release of the certified true copies (CTC) documents of the March 18 elections. In politics, the All Progressives Congress in Delta State has expelled the Deputy President of the Senate, Ovie Omo Agege, for being a member of the APC for alleged anti-party activities and other unnamed offences. The Delta APC announced Omo Agege's expulsion in a letter dated 31st of March 2023, obtained by newsmen today. It would be recalled that Omo Agege, the governorship candidate of the APC in the Delta State, lost to the governor-elect, a candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Sheriff Oborovie. Omo Agege, who scored 240,229 votes, was 120,005 votes behind his contender and the returned governor-elect of the PDP, Obowore, who scored 360,234 votes. In the expulsion letter signed by the chairman, Ilobo Isaac, on behalf of the State Executive Committee of the Delta APC and Secretary Inanna Michael and 23 others, unanimously resolved and adopted the expulsion of Omo Agege as a member of the party by the Executive Committee of the Orogun Ward and the Ugeli North Local Government Chapter. Still in politics, Governor of Ondo State, Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, has begun a 15-day working vacation. The vacation, which commenced today, is set to be the first installment of his annual leave. Disclosing this in a statement which was made available today, the governor's chief press secretary, Richard Olatunde, stated that the leave will end on the 25th of April. Olatunde said a letter to that effect had been transmitted to the State House of Assembly. Meanwhile, with the developments, the Deputy Governor, Lucky Ayedatiwa, will take charge of the affairs of the state pending the expiration of the governor's leave. On home front, some residents of Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, have continued to react to the gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections that was held on Saturday, the 18th of March 2023, calling on the incoming leaders to do better in developing the state. Speaking with the correspondent Esther Otoyo, some of them, while reacting to the outcome of the election, commended the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) for their efforts in conducting a free and fair election, while others faulted INEC, saying that more needs to be done by the Commission ahead of Nigeria's next election. Others, in an interview, urged the state citizens to accept the outcome of the election and join in building the state. They also solicited the governor-elect, Pastor Umoeno, to ensure the continuity of peace in the state. Still to come in the news. Oil surges on surprise cut from OPEC Plus. Do stay with us for more details.
To meet the needs of the people. But There's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment, frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st.
The only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigeria Police Force, which shall be administered, organized and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder.
About cases which are in court,
Is this an adversary proceeding?
it's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll...
Join us every Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. for Legally Speaking.
Every day, we'll bring you up to education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyekan every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news. In Africa, East African bloc IGAD has praised Kenyan President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga for agreeing to hold talks aimed at ending 2 weeks of protest about the cost of living and electoral reform today in response to what he called an olive branch from President Ruto. In a Twitter post, IGAD Executive Secretary and preserve Kenya's unity and constitutional order. Meanwhile, still in File 1 on Nation 1 in Swahili, based in California. According to reports, the observation set among other areas. It added that testing and manufacturing of the parts were done in collaboration with a Bulgarian aerospace manufacturer. Meanwhile, an East African entrepreneur and smartphone designer Ellen Kapo the outstanding endeavors that promotes literacy learning. Kapo invented he had made the phone so that people who cannot read and write were able to use smartphones. In the meantime, United Nations human rights experts have accused senior government officials and military officers in South Sudan of committing serious abuses, including widespread attacks against civilians, killings and rape. A new report says the state continues to fail in its duty to protect civilians and to ensure accountability for violations. Amongst those recommended for prosecution are the Governor of Unity State, Joseph Montefiore, and Lieutenant General Floyd Chani. of the South Sudanese military. They are accused of state-sanctioned extrajudicial killings carried out last August. They deny the allegations. Meanwhile, the United Nations report says sexual violence against women and girls remains systematic in South Sudan. Meanwhile, South Africa's main opposition party, the Democratic Alliance (DA), re-elected John Stens Hussein as its leader as it campaigns to unseat the ruling African National Congress (ANC) in next year's national elections. Stens Hussein garnered 83% of the votes to beat his opponent, former Johannesburg Executive Mayor Fo Falsi, who only obtained 17%. In his acceptance speech, Stens Hussein said the DA will work with other like-minded parties ahead of the 2024 elections. The re-elected leader took over the reins of the party in November of 2019 following the resignation of the then DA leader Musi Mameni. He will lead the party for the next 3 years. Still in Africa, where Rwandan President Paul Kagame has been re-elected the chairman of the ruling party, Rwandan Patriotic Front, at the party's 16th Congress. Reports say the Rwandan leader got 2,999 votes, accounting for 99.8% of the total votes, while his closest contender, Abdul Karim Halumena, got 3 votes or 0.2%. Kagame, Rwanda's president for 22 years, will now serve another 5 years as head of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, the political party he has led since 1998. On the foreign scene, Republican U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said today he would meet Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen in California on Wednesday, a move China said would be a provocation. China has warned the United States that it is playing with fire over the trip by Tsai, who is in New York on what is officially a transit stopover on her way to Latin America. Meanwhile, she will stop in California on her way back and meet McCarthy. His statement said, while U.S. media reported that around 20 U.S. lawmakers planned to accompany the speaker. Still on the foreign scene, former U.S. President Donald Trump's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, has said that Trump is getting ready for battle ahead of his scheduled court hearing on Tuesday. Trump is expected to fly to New York City from his Mar-a-Lago home today to face charges related to hush money payments made to an adult video star. According to Tacopina, any charges against the former president will be fought vigorously. Meanwhile, the former president is expected to hand himself over to authorities on Tuesday, with a hearing due to take place in Manhattan. However, law enforcement officials, including the FBI, New York City court officers, and Secret Service, are reportedly preparing for the Tuesday case. In the meantime, former Kosovo President Hashim Thaçi has pleaded not guilty to 10 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Reports say he went on a trial today with 3 co-defendants accused of killing nearly 100 people and other atrocities, including enforced disappearances, noting that the allegations date from Kosovo's independence war against Serbia from 1998 to 1999, in which more than 10,000 people were reportedly dead. According to the court indictment, the crimes took place in more than 100 locations in Kosovo and in northern Albania, where Serb civilians were allegedly detained and mistreated or murdered. Meanwhile, the Syrian refugee Ryan Asbel has been elected as the mayor of a village in Germany. He stood as a non-party candidate to become mayor of Oslem in the southwestern state of Baden-Württemberg. The municipality declared him the winner after polling the majority of the votes, 55.41%. According to reports, the 29-year-old Eisbel defeated non-party candidates Marcus Treb and Matthias Fair. Meanwhile, the member of the Green Party said his experiences in the election campaign were mostly positive. Elsewhere, Arctic scientists are set to start drilling to save samples of ancient ice for analysis before the frozen layers melt away due to climate change. Italian, French and Norwegian researchers have set up camp in Norway's Svalbard archipelago in what they called a race against time to preserve crucial ice records for analyzing past environmental conditions. Reports say they will extract ice in a series of tubes from as far as 125 meters below the surface, containing frozen geochemical traces dating back 3 centuries. Meanwhile, analysis of chemicals in deep ice cores provides scientists with valuable data about past environmental conditions. But experts warn that water from melting ice is leaking down the altering the geochemical records, preserved in ancient ice beneath. Still on the foreign scene, Palestinian and Israeli forces battled in the air and on the ground today, with a drone downed and missiles fired over Gaza and 2 militants shot dead in the West Bank. Palestinian fighters in the Gaza Strip said they fired missiles at an Israeli warplane after it shot their drone down. The violence followed a weekend of deadly incidents which ended a relative calm since the start of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan 10 days ago. Elsewhere, Russia has accused Ukraine of masterminding the murder of a prominent war blogger, Vladimir Taseki, whose real name was Maxim Fomin, blown up by a figurine handed to him during a talk in St. Petersburg cafe. Meanwhile, in a police video, a 26-year-old Russian woman admitted to handing him the bomb, but reportedly said it was a setup. Meanwhile, Finland's flag will be hoisted outside NATO headquarters tomorrow when it becomes the newest member of the Western Alliance. Russian President Vladimir Putin's all-out invasion of Ukraine last year upended European security and pushed Finland and its neighbor Sweden to drop decades of non-alignment and seek to join NATO's protective umbrella. Objections from Turkey and Hungary held up Helsinki's bid for months and are still blocking Stockholm before the parliament in Ankara cleared the final obstacle for Finland with a vote last week. According to reports, completing the ratification in well under a year still makes this the fastest membership process in the alliance's recent history. Still on the foreign scene, Malaysia's lower house today approved legal reforms to abolish the mandatory death penalty for some offences. The amendments would be applicable to 34 offences currently punishable by death. This also includes murder and drug trafficking, while 11 of them carry it as a mandatory punishment. Meanwhile, the country has had a moratorium on execution since 2018, but courts have continued to send inmates to death row. However, alternatives to the existing death penalty include whipping and imprisonment of 30 to 40 years. And now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blyden Wickham.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to Business News. My name is Blyden Wickham. In the news, oil surges on surprise cut from OPEC Plus. WTI and Brent futures surge as much as 8% today, trading above $80 and $84 per barrel respectively, hitting the strongest level in months after OPEC Plus announced a surprise production cut of more than 1 million barrels a day. This complicates the outlook for inflation and interest rates, as investors had been betting that easing price pressures would give central banks room to pause the current tightening cycle. The agricultural market. The biggest producer and exporter of sugar in the world is Brazil, with 21% of total production and 45% of total exports. A significant amount of sugar is also produced in India, European Union, China, Thailand, and the United States. Raw sugar futures surged above $22.4 per pound in early April, the most in over 6 years, supported by expectations of higher biofuel demand and lower output from key producers. Crude oil prices soared after OPEC Plus announced a surprise output cut, encouraging sugarcane producers to allocate crops to more profitable biofuel blending instead of sugar crushing and limiting the sweetener supply as a result. To add, Brazil's new federal government ended its tax exemption program for gasoline, raising demand for lower tax sugarcane ethanol and adding to the momentum for biofuel blending. Elsewhere, crop damage and unfavorable weather in Thailand and India pressured output projection from other major producers. Tesla stocks. Tesla's first quarter vehicle sales rose 36% after the company cut prices twice in a bid to stimulate demand. According to the electric car, SUV, and heavy truck maker, it delivered 422,875 vehicles worldwide from January to March, up from just over 310,000 a year ago. However, the increase fell short of analyst estimates of 432,000 for the quarter, according to FactSet. The first quarter sales were a record for the company. In Nigeria, trading in the shares of Sterling Bank has been suspended on the floor of the Nigerian Exchange Limited. The suspension took effect on Thursday, according to a notice issued by the Nigerian Exchange Group in its weekly report of activities. The suspension was necessary to prevent trading in the shares of the bank in preparation for the scheme of arrangement between the bank and the holders of its fully paid ordinary shares of 50 kobo each for restructuring of the bank. The suspension was required to determine the shareholders who will qualify for the scheme. Meanwhile, the bank had requested an extension in the deadline for the filing of its annual financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2022. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. Today is the first trading day of the week and the BS return. 107 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 17 gainers and 23 losers. The benchmark All-Share Index sparred 42.06 basis points to close at 54,190.28 points, compared with the previous trading day of Friday, March 31st. Today's data shows 48% decline in volume, 35% decline in turnover, but 12% improvement in deals. Meanwhile, the current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 29.5 trillion naira. Adza Mansard Insurance led the gainers with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 2 naira 9 kobo per share. On the losing side, SCOA Nigeria came out last with an end-of-day price appreciation of 10% at 90 kobo per share. Fidelity Bank recorded the highest volume of 79.7 million traded shares. This is all on business news. Do stay with Uyai Aniekan for the rest of the news.
Thank you, Blyden Ukem. Still to come in the news. Djokovic tops ATP rankings. Do stay with us for more details after the short timeout. Thanks for staying tuned. In health, Kenyan researchers have found 2 new strains from 2 common sexually transmitted diseases among a group of women in a town in western Kenya. More than 400 women above the age of 15 were diagnosed with gonorrhea and chlamydia with new mutations. The researchers from the Kenya Medical Research Institute fear that the disease could spread to neighboring Uganda, as the town Busia is along the border with where truck drivers stop. According to reports, this group of people are at an increased risk of getting HIV and sexually transmitted disease. Meanwhile, the researchers are planning to conduct more studies to establish how widespread the disease is and whether the new mutations can be treated by standard antibiotics. They said the changes on the genetic makeup of the virus had not been seen before. Still in health, medical experts have urged Nigerians to pay attention to their blood volume, stating that having a high volume of blood in the body could be dangerous. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, a high volume of blood in the body, also called polycythemia vera, is a rare blood disorder in which there is an increase in all blood cells, particularly red blood cells, which makes the blood thicker and can lead to strokes or tissue and organ damage. The experts explained that too many red blood cells can make the blood thick and sluggish, noting that high blood volume can also cause irritating symptoms, including itching, ringing in the ears, stomach ache, nosebleeds, and blurred or double vision. Over now to Isaac for trending sports stories.
Well, thank you very much, Uyai. In sports, Novak Djokovic returned to #1 spot in ATP rankings published today, despite missing the US tournament last month because of his lack of COVID-19 vaccination. Carlos Alcaraz had taken the top ranking from Djokovic after winning the Indian Wells competition, but the Spaniard bowed out of the semi-finals of the Miami Open on Friday last week to allow the Serb back for a record 380th week as the #1. Djokovic had a 380 points lead over Alcaraz, with Stefanos Tsitsipas in third, more than 1,000 points behind the leading duo. We're talking about Formula One. Australian Grand Prix organizers have promised to investigate after fans invaded the track before Sunday's race had officially finished. Footage showed a large group of 131,000 strong crowd squeezing through barriers and climbing fences just meters from speeding cars. Some reached the stranded hearse of Nico Hulkenberg on the exit of Turn 2. The sports governing body, the FIA, said the incident was a serious breach of the sporting code. Australian Grand Prix Corporation Chief Executive Andrew Westacott said the outcome of Melbourne's Albert Park could have been horrific. It has demanded that the organisers urgently present a formal remediation plan. Well, finally, from football, Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag is ready to stick 5 players on the transfer list this summer to free up funds for new recruits. Anthony Martial is said to be among the stars who could get the chop. The Red Devils splashed out a staggering £213 million on new signings last year, with the likes of Casemiro, Anthony, and Lisandro Martinez arriving at Old Trafford. By contrast, United only recovered £11.6 million from selling Andres Pereira and Tai Chong. Ten Hag is hoping this summer will be different and is ready to offload some big names that don't appear to fit his system to free up even more funds to land his top transfer target, Harry Kane, being number 1 on his wish list. The 5 players that Ten Hag is ready to part company with for cash, according to stories, are Harry Maguire, Brandon Williams, Alex Telles, Anthony Martial, and Eric Bailly. The latter is currently on loan at Marseille and will join the Ligue 1 side permanently should he hit a milestone appearance and trigger the move. If he doesn't, United will stick him on the transfer list. Dean Henderson is another player that United are reportedly open to selling, with rumors that the goalkeeper could be used as a bargaining unit in an audacious bid for Harry Kane. Jadon Sancho is also said to be in danger of being sold, with Ten Hag reportedly growing impatient with his lack of professionalism. With that said on sports, I am Isaac. Back to you, Yai.
Thank you, Isaac. Now we move on to our entertainment news. President Muhammadu Buhari has hailed revered music maestro and talented performer evangelist Ebenezer Fabiyi as Obey Commander on his 81st birthday. In a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, Buhari acknowledged Obey Commander's contribution to global entertainment through his over the 60-year practice in the industry. Still on entertainment, street hop singer Habib Akikiola, popularly known as Portable, has been granted bail by a high court in Ogun State. Reports say that Portable landed in police custody on Friday, the 31st of March 2023, after his engagement with police officers at his bar, in which one of them was allegedly injured. According to the Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Dejobi, the singer would face more than 6 charges in court. The singer, who was reportedly arraigned in court, was subsequently granted bail to the tune of 300,000 naira and provided 2 sureties with landed properties within the court vicinity. The case has been adjourned to April 26 for the commencement of trial. Finally, tonight, Nigerian international sensations Burna Boy and Iris Star Victony have performed at the 2023 Dreamville Festival. The concert, which had in attendance American music superstars including Drake and Usher, were hosted by J. Cole. The Dreamville Festival in Raleigh, the Raytheat Dix Park, North Carolina on April 1st and 2nd, 2023. Reports say Victony performed on the first day, which was headlined by Usher, and Grammy Award winner Burna Boy delivered songs across his last album, Love Damini, among other songs, while international charting sensation Ira Star performed her hit single, Rush, and latest record, Stability. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum TV News at 9. I am Uyai Anieken. Thanks for watching, and I do hope you have a splendid night rest. Good night.
Business exists only to meet the needs